In this video, we're going to do the song Because He Lives, and we're going to discuss various interpretations that we could do for certain phrases. There are a lot of new signs in this. We're only going to cover verse 1 because we had to keep the video short in order to upload it. So remember, I'm left-handed, so if you're right-handed, you would want to mirror image me. We'll do all the words, but we'll focus on the words that are new to us. So, all right, so God, we know. For sent, I would do this. This is like somebody is sent to do something or called to do something. So God sent, we know his. For son, remember it's the male part of the head, and then the sign for baby, so that's son. They called him Jesus. You can skip the they, or you can do that if you want to point down over to them. Called him, that would be named him, not this kind of called. That's like called to do a job. So named him Jesus. Now you can do he came like this, as he came from heaven, or you could do he came like that, or came like this. So he came. I think I like that one the best. He came to love. This is a new word for us, heal. Heal. I'm not sure of a reason for that. Heal. And, which you can eliminate if you want, forgive. He lived and died. Buy is a new word for us. So for buy, you have money in your hand and you're giving it. So you're buying. To buy my, remember the flat hand for possessive, my pardon. An empty grave. Empty is one we haven't done before. So for empty, you take your middle finger and you come across this way. So that's empty. It can mean things related to empty. It can mean naked. I used to always confuse that with the word for early, and early goes off this edge. So that's early, and this is empty. So good luck remembering that. I had to look it up countless times to remember. An empty grave, this is, remember the hump of the grave, is there. To prove. Prove is a new word. So you put the evidence in your hand like that. So there it is. I've proved it. To prove. My, remember, save person, Savior, lives. Okay, let's run through that real quick. God sent his son. They named or called him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. Some people might do pardon that way with both hands. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Let's go ahead and do the chorus. Because this is one that Karen and I have debated over. So some deaf prefer to use actually the word why for because. Well, why is it? Well, because this. And so if you do why, there are two ways you might do that. You can come out from your head with a why, or some do just the middle finger, like why. And you would raise your eyebrows when you do that if you do the why, like why. Another way to do because, and this actually is my preference because mainly it seems to be Andy's preference, and he's the one we're ministering to. So because you can do it with an index finger like this and come up, or you can do all the fingers and come up. for because. So I like the index finger mainly because it looks more different than the sign for forget, and forget is where you wipe all your memories out of your forehead. So, and you don't go up. So that's forget, and this is because. And you may forget that. Okay, so we'll do because this way. In church, I was doing it this way, but Andy seemed confused with that, and he was doing it this way. So that's what I'm going to do. So because he lives, for I can face tomorrow. I is a new word for us, actually. So this is the letter I, and you put it here. Some deaf prefer just to do the sign for me, and they don't distinguish me and I, but we will do the I. Okay, so I can. Now for face, we've got a bunch of different options here. One option we don't want is the sign for face, because we're not talking about a actual face. Okay, so we don't want to do that. So one thing that we can do, and what I did in church this morning, was continue. I can continue tomorrow. Other options might be like this. You know, this is kind of like being in the presence of somebody or facing somebody. This is meet, like this. But this is, you know, being in the presence of somebody. And so I've seen people do this. It's kind of like a variation of that. And they're doing this. I'm not sure I really like that, because you're facing tomorrow. You're not facing another person. So continue is what I did. Another thing that you might do is the sign for prepare looks like this. It's like you've got stuff in order and you've got it in front of you. You're prepared. Or you can do ready. So you could be ready for tomorrow, or you could prepare for tomorrow. I kind of like ready. Now you can do, this is also ready, like I'm ready to go. Are you ready? You know, ready to go. This ready is more like a preparedness ready, the same concept as prepare. All right, so we'll probably go with continue, since that's what we did this morning in church. So that's because he lives, I can continue. For tomorrow, this is the sign for tomorrow. So the future, which we'll use in another line or two, future goes out farther. That's future. I use that for destiny or fate, anything like that as well. So that's future. Tomorrow's just a little bit into the future. This is the past, and a little bit into the past, which you can do with a Y or just the thumb, whichever you prefer. I've always done it with the Y, and I actually like that because this means daily. Of course, it's going forward. And down here in the chin is girl, touching the bonnet of a girl's hat. So I prefer the Y for that reason, just because there's so much going on with the thumb with other signs. So, but you go back into the past for yesterday, or that's the sign for past, and this is future and tomorrow. So because he lives, I can continue tomorrow. Because he lives, and we know this line here, all fear is gone. And you can do gone different ways. You know, you can do whatever. But I just go with the sign for gone. Because I know he holds the future. Now for holds, I've seen people do holds or whatever that way. I prefer to use the sign for control or rule. So this is, you take X's and you go back and forth like this. That's like controlling a marionette puppet. I've heard people say that's like controlling the reins on a horse, but I'm a horse rider and this is not usually what you do with the reins. So I prefer the marionette puppet idea. for control or rules. It could be sovereign, anything like that. The sign for master would be a control person. Okay, so anything that has to do with controlling something is that. So he controls the future. That really gets the concept across more than holding it, because how do you hold? You can't physically hold the future. Okay, and life is worth. Remember the sign for worth? It's the opposite of family. Worth, the living. For just, you could leave that off. I've seen people do just by just signing a J, but you can also do this for just, take X's and do this. I've also seen this for just, which is kind of like the sign for perfect with P's. And so, you know, just, or omit it. So I think it's probably better to omit it. Just because he lives. Okay, in the next video we will do verse 2, which we didn't even do in church, but I figure we may as well include it for completeness. So we'll do verse 2 in another video, and then verse 3, and then we'll have one to music. So we'll see you later.